So here we have some of our speakers from today. Unfortunately, Engel weren't able to stay. However, we have a great panel with Ypsomed, Raumedic, team, and of course, Moldex, who you've just heard from. Thank you to all of you for submitting some questions. We had quite a few come through, some probably more suited to day one. So what we're going to do is get all the panels together, not today, but later, to ask some of those questions, and we'll share them all with you in the due course. So let's start from question number one. And this is probably going to be geared more towards the material converter side of things. So sustainability tends to focus on materials, carbon footprint reduction, so on. How important are other aspects of corporate social responsibility, that's a mouthful, such as equality, to your businesses overall?
Good question. We have our strategic plan making sustainability as part of our life is across the complete group, across the complete company. Means from our employees towards our patients, our stakeholders in all levels. So we do not see sustainability should be not only focused on suppliers. This is just a very small part. And this, we just discussed it, this part of suppliers or changing products from a normal raw material to a bio-optimized material is very critical and could trigger a global change, which everyone in the value chain will avoid. Therefore, such a change is a no-go for us, for our customers. That's the biggest challenge we face, which we would like to avoid. Therefore, we discussed we need to include in that discussion notified body, other stakeholders, to make sustainability happen, to get rid of just emotional risks. That, for example, a bio-resin is not as good as a normal resin. And for us, as within Ypsomed, it's important that all players, our customers, our suppliers, our staff, is participating from being sustainable. So we offer a broad range of benefits to our employees, starting with paying back public transport tickets, offering they can load their electric vehicles for free of charge. All those what gives a positive impact on sustainability is reflected in our corporate strategy. It's a huge one. We can discuss many hours about it.
Unfortunately, we don't have many hours because lunch, I think, is going to be at about 1:10. So just quickly slip that in. We've brought that forward. Jessica, what do you think from your perspective?
Yeah, same at Raumedic. So we are not only focusing on using biopolymers. Of course, it's my special topic in the material development, but we are also focusing on social aspects, economic aspects. You all know the parts of sustainability. It's not only biopolymers or materials, but I think that is a topic that has every company to look internally, but of course with the German Lieferkettengesetz, längeres Wort, long word, for ensuring that also the partners in the upstream fulfill their requirements regarding social and sustainability in general. It's more than just material, but my heart is beating for materials, so it's my most important part, but of course, it's not everything.
Okie dokie. Ray, Prem, do you have any thoughts on corporate social responsibility and how that impacts maybe on your side from a development perspective?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it just right, Jessica, that it's the 3 pillars for sustainability. We're obviously talking about environment, but there is also financial sustainability and social sustainability. From a development perspective, we like to think that we are as efficient as possible. Team is employee owned, so everything we do is based, we share the profits that we make essentially at Team. So we have an investment not only to our clients but to ourselves, and I think that really shows in the work we do. So yeah.
Okay. One last comment. You're talking about 3 pillars. That's a very good description. And this is going into a direction that we have new interests of conflict. And we need to find a new balance between those 3 pillars. This is what I said at the beginning. We all need to change our mind. Being sustainable.
Maybe. Also, one comment from my side. In the healthcare segment, I would say we have not 3 pillars, we have 4 pillars, because we have the products which also contribute to the sustainability, so the healthcare. So for us, it's not only the 3 pillars, but also the product is in our segment a very important part of sustainability.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So the second question we've got, and I think maybe Prem, knowing your love of LCAs, is probably a good one for you. When is an LCA an appropriate tool to use? And I suppose to echo something that maybe Julian mentioned yesterday, when should we be critical of numbers being thrown on presentations?
So LCA, we've developed the tools quite a lot at Team. We've try and use it where we can, but we use it sparingly because it is an intensive process. You don't want to do an LCA to every single detail, because the amount of energy that goes into doing that alone will outweigh the products that you manufacture. But I would say that if you're in concept generation phase, you can compare a couple of materials, compare a couple of immature designs quite easily. But when you get into the real detail, that's when LCA really comes into play. I was at a conference last week, where in terms of reuse, and back to my presentation on reuse, the person who's presenting was suggesting that LCA is a bit of a nonsense tool for reuse, because if you can do reuse, you're very likely to reduce your carbon footprint. So if you focus on reuse first, then do the LCA afterwards, then you save money, you save time, it becomes more efficient. But nevertheless, I think LCA during development is key. Once you've made your products is also key, because as I presented, there will be product level requirements. Now, we don't know what they look like. We don't know what the NHS and all the other healthcare providers will be demanding of their suppliers. But there will be something, so it'll be important to get a handle on that.
Before you hand the mic over, question from me.
Yes.
How is there going to be some kind of standardization on the LCA reports? Because it's been mentioned by quite a few people that, cradle to gate, cradle to grave, include this, don't include that. It makes it very difficult to compare data to get an absolute view. I think Bernd mentioned it. Usually there would be a time when he'd chip in, but he's escaped. When are we going to get into a position where we actually have a clear level playing field on LCAs?
When is a tricky question.
I know, that's why I'm asking it.
As it stands, I would say everyone does it differently, not just because of the process. I think the process is the same for everyone. I think it's the assumptions that go into it. So when we do LCAs, we put a lot of detail into it. We look at clean room environments, we look at the whole supply chain, all the transport steps. So potentially an extra layer further than a lot of other people may do. But, that's just the way that we do it. And potentially that's too much. We don't know. We don't know what will be demanded of the manufacturers in the future. And until the healthcare providers, and I am just focusing on medical here, until the healthcare providers have some conformity amongst themselves on what they want, it's going to be hard for any conformity in LCA to come about.
Okay, thank you very much. And Jessica, Roland, from your perspective, how important are LCAs in what you're doing as a business to demonstrate to your clients and to the market the importance of carbon footprint reduction?
Yeah, we saw during Prem's presentation that it was somewhat surprising. Yeah. From a manufacturer or Ypsomed point of view, our strategy was designed for manufacturing, for high volume manufacturing, and this we need to throw away. We need to design for sustainability, and therefore we need to include this process into the development. We did this, but just since last year. Yeah. It's important. Yeah.
Excellent. Jessica, any thoughts? No? Fair enough. Fair enough. So, Ray, I feel like you're being left out a little bit, so I've actually got a couple of questions for you. The first one is, how widely available are the data required for simulations for biopolymers? Obviously, it's quite a new material type gaining traction. Traditional polymers, quite widely supported. How are you seeing that evolve for running a simulation with, say, a PLA?
Actually, we do have our own laboratory to do the material testing, and we think that is also one of the solution for this kind of topic. When there is a new material come out, as we know, their basic physics characteristic, for example, viscosity, thermal conductivity, PVT, these kind of characteristic, we can do the simulation. And if we can have all these materials in our material data bank, the customer can know, okay, these materials are environmental friendly and maybe less carbon emission. And since maybe after the simulation, they found the performance of the material, for example, the shrinkage of the part is more or less same as other material, then they have the selection to go with the new material, which may be in the biograde or something like that, more environmental friendly. Yeah. So that could be one option to do that. But we need to have more cooperation with, for example, Innotech for like a material data exchange. Yeah, that's also one reason why we are here. Yeah.
Excellent. And as you've got the mic, another question for you, and it's linked to your case study. Obviously, you promoted the use of modifying the tool for that hot runner. Why couldn't you have just overcome that with process, with tweaks to the processing?
With the tweak of the because they tried with the tweak of the processing, and because the tip is too sharp and the gate is around 1 millimeter thick, so it's really tiny, and there's not so big room in the modification of the process. In the, let's say, in the medical industry, usually we have a really high demand in the part quality, and that means usually you would need a high pressure to inject the part. And when it's high pressure, it would lead to the high flow rate, and in the end, the high shear effect.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is unavoidable. That modifying the gate would be much easier.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Thank you. No problem. One question, I think this on is probably for the entire panel. And it links to the closed loop side of things, Prem, something you said about reuse, and obviously something that Ypsomed and Raumedic also referenced. What are the main obstacles to overcome when it comes to actually bringing back used products for circularity, refurbishment, or replacement? Who'd like to kick us off?
I'm happy to go first on that. I think the key stakeholder yet again is the user. If you cannot convince them to bring things back, then you're just not going to get them back. You're manufacturing these products, you're giving them to people to use. Great. If they don't then deal with them in the way that you want them to, then you may as well not invest the time and money into it. So I think if you bring them along on the journey and share stats with them, I know graphs aren't the most accessible to everybody, and I know scaremongering people isn't easy either. I don't know if financial incentive is a good option either, but it is, in my opinion, all about the user. There are a lot of schemes out there which are trying to get momentum. I know that SIPA, Circularity and Pharmaceutical, sorry, I can't remember the acronym, Pharmaceutical Primary Packaging Accelerator, I think is the name. They are a group that is bringing together a lot of industry, big manufacturers, especially in the auto-injector and inhaler world, trying to get them to collaborate. So that's the other side of it. It's not just the users, but it's collaboration. If everybody can work together on this, they can get the devices back and share in the sustainable benefits.
Okay.
Maybe I can share a little bit from our perspective, because actually from 2022 we have started to invest a lot of energy to research if there is any way to help our simulation in recycled material, because we know recycled material is more and more. And we have done 1 year and a half research and found there is no behavior we can follow for the recycled material. Sometimes they would rise the viscosity and sometimes they would decrease the viscosity. We didn't find any physical rules on that. So that is one of the challenge in our industry, that we cannot find a general solution for recycled material to do the simulation and to predict the potential issue for our customer. Also, maybe that is one of the problem for the recycled material user. The unstable of the material properties could also be one challenge.
Okay.
For us as a converter, it is difficult because we have not a direct contact to the end user. We are very at the beginning at the production chain, and it's difficult to get the holistic overview. Who is the end user? Who's part of this chain? We don't know in most cases where our products directly were purchased. So for us, it is necessary to work together with our customers. We try to develop recycling concepts together with our suppliers. Maybe also Ravago has a good network for this. And so we try to find ways to support our customers in the recycling process. But alone we have no chance to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, until 2018, we are the distributor for Insulet, distributing Omnipod. It's a patch pump for people sick on diabetes. And we send out, together with the fresh patch pump, a return kit. So the patient can, after use this return kit, send it back to us. We have stopped the business due to strategic reasons, and we start with our own developed product. It's called Ypsopod. We start in 2025-26 with the same strategy. So we will send out a return kit for the patient. Yeah? It comes back to us, and then we will bring it back into circular economy. And we have another device. It's not on the market. It's not a secret anymore. It's called YpsoDose. It's for oncology. This will have, let's say, also the patient will have also the opportunity to send the used device back to us, because the device itself, it's quite expensive. The production costs are around 60-70 Swiss francs, and then it makes sense to bring it back to us for reuse.
I think we'd all be interested in understanding what kind of success you have with that, because I know other businesses have tried it and maybe stopped those processes because the adoption rate wasn't big enough. But I think the landscape of the industry is changing rapidly, and I think the general public is probably more understanding of circularity now than maybe they were even just 5 years ago.
I'm sure that from the governments will come a tremendous pressure within the next years that manufacturers take back their products. Yeah.
I think so.
And when we did the distribution for Insulet, the return shipment quote was approximately 60%, which is quite a lot.
And I think if we look at other industries, we see that in electronics, where there is a burden of responsibility on the manufacturer, the brand owner, to have responsibility for the end of life. And I think, looking at, not spoiling some of the question answers that we've had from the surveys, but regulatory force is pretty much going to be the key thing.
I find this project from Apple quite interesting with Daisy. This is the robot they call Daisy. This robot can disassemble 13 different iPhones, and the target from Apple is to reuse more than 30% out of these used iPhones in the new products.
It is interesting, and I think it's becoming a sales pitch as well for people to have that circularity. Yeah. And speaking on savings, obviously yesterday we talked a lot about materials. Obviously, most of the speakers were looking at how materials could be part of the solution. But what I found interesting on both Ypsomed and Raumedic's presentations was the importance of other ways to reduce the carbon footprint. So we saw the investment in solar panels, we saw the logistical savings. How important do you think those aspects are, and do you think they're probably more achievable in the short term than material savings?
Yeah, I think materials are one way to reduce the CO2 footprint, but as we saw already on our green product, we also focus on logistics and energy, and especially logistics is a very big part which is responsible for the high CO2 footprint. So I think logistics and energy is maybe a much easier way to reduce CO2. So I would say this would be the first step, which is also very easy to implement in the medical field. And on top, there should be the consideration of using biopolymers to have the holistic CO2 footprint reduction.
Excellent. Marcus. Hello, I didn't see you there. Oh, do you want a mic? I mean, you've had one all day.
Speak up. Jessica, you mentioned the EU taxonomy in your presentation, and that we all have to think and to act more sustainable to receive loans in the near future, I think by 2030. Is there, if we speak about biopolymers, which is your passion, we heard, is there a difference of receiving loans between the broad range of existing biopolymers, like bio-based, biodegradable, bio-based mass, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, that biopolymers can be classified as taxonomy compliant. It must be proven that they are sustainably produced. So in some cases it is difficult to prove this without ACA data or something like that. But the good news is for the mass balance approach, for the ISCC Plus certified materials, due to the evidence you have from this certification, with all these requirements, you can say that these biopolymers can be classified as taxonomy compliant. For the other bio-based materials, of course, it is not so easy to give the evidence as there is no certification behind it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. So I think we've got a few minutes left, so we've probably got time for a couple of questions. I've been given quite a healthy amount for closing remarks, which I won't need. So let's look at those. See, Marcus, you've thrown me off. As people who are communicating regularly with people who maybe don't necessarily understand the full range of sustainability options, how are you supporting them through that? Are you simplifying the communication, or what are the big challenges you're facing with just understanding from your clients and maybe, as you say, sometimes the end customers as well?
What we did in terms of communication, we defined a certain space in our intranet. Every employee can have access to this space of sustainability, can read what the company is doing, what the company is offering. Mm-hmm. So in terms of communication, I would say the sustainability office is part of the business. Meanwhile, it's not a likely or unlikely office, it's part of the business.
Okay.
And they are doing also events, brown bag meetings, something like that, having 3-4 sustainability days during the year. So you need to create a platform where all those sustainability activities are reflected.
Okay, thank you.
I would also say that communication is the most important part of the sustainability strategy, because I have learned in various customer meetings that you have to explain biopolymers and the mass balance approach in each meeting in a different way. So you cannot give them a general overview. You have to answer all questions which came from the customer, and they are so different. Sometimes I'm beginning from zero, and sometimes the customer has knowledge about this topic, but maybe in a different understanding. So yeah, my experience is that explain it directly to the customer for every case, in a special way is very important.
Okay, thank you.
So we obviously have a range of clients who we speak to, and whenever we're communicating these sort of things, whether it's by polymers or any kind of strategy, it's hardline numbers which tend to help. So certification, if you can say, yes, this is a certified green material or something, whether it's mass balance or anything else, they'd rather hear that first and then the detail. Also the hardline numbers, the costs and the carbon footprints. Those are the key metrics that they'd be looking for. And then, if they want to dive into the detail and get confused by mass balance and all the other complications, then by all means, find a neat way to communicate that.
Okay, thank you. Ray, any insight from you on that? It's a bit out of your wheelhouse, but
Yeah, I would say from our perspective, what we are doing, the simulation itself is already environmental friendly from base of it, because you don't need to really do the test in the real world. And also we are trying to research on recycled material or something. We try to do the CO2 emission calculation to help our customer step a little bit more on the environmental friendly or sustainability topic. Yeah, that's what we do.
okay. Thank you very much. And again, not spoiling some of the answers from the questions we've got, but regulatory kept coming up as a key aspect. Do you all think that in the very near future there will be sort of very strict regulations to enforce sustainability on medical devices? I think we all probably know the answer, but hey.
In Switzerland, it's already done. Nobody lives that, but in Switzerland, there is a strict regulation that medical device companies need to get back the devices. Not in Europe, but I'm sure within the next 5 years. I'm absolutely sure.
Okay.
I fully agree to this. I think there is coming more and more requirements also from the government, and I also hope that they see that the governments have to give the push to give the requirements because guidelines, yes, because if we only look at the costs, no one would do this by their own intrinsic motivation, I would say.
Thank you.
Do you see also, if you look at regulatory knowledge, then you also see at the other side of the table, in regulatory people, specialists that are actually knowledgeable about these kind of polymers. I mean, I've heard over the last 2 days a lot of saying, "Oh, we have issues with regulatory people wanting proof, wanting this, wanting that." But do we also see knowledge on the other side of the table building up?
Yes.
Yes, there you go. Simple.
Yes. Why am I saying that? First of all, people working for notified bodies or regulatory affairs, they are also in the same boat as we all are. Yeah? So they have at least a private interest. Yeah? That's the first thing. I come up with an example. FDA, for example, they for sure will come in the future with audits very much IT related. Yeah, you need to show up that your cybersecurity risk is low. Therefore, they have to build up know-how of IT specialists on their side. And I'm sure this will come also for sustainability. They need to build up experts, subject matter experts, checking out if you are following sustainability rules, guidelines, law. This will come. And I think this will come not in 10 years, this will come in 5 years. There is no way out. When you see it every day in the news, what's happened on the world. Yeah. And the pressure will raise. Yeah. Yeah. And it's for medical device companies, also for pharmaceutical producers. They having a good margin on all their products, so they have the money to invest in different steps of sustainability. They can cover the costs. Yeah. I'm sure this is not the problem. Yeah. So the answer is yes. Yeah. But there is another question. Maybe you can cry.
Yeah, I can cry. Talking about cost, do you already consider internal CO2 price, so to drive change internally as well as externally? So really, but otherwise it's really hard to compare with like resins we're using now compared to sustainable, where kind of nature's on the balance sheet. So do you use internal like a CO2 price just to...
I know what you mean, and yeah, we do it. I cannot give you an exact number how much we took in our calculation, but we do it. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, so maybe the question is, please correct me if I'm wrong. The question was, do we calculate also the price of the CO2 emissions, right? Yeah, and what kind of cost per ton we put into our calculation. Yeah, we do it. There is an average cost per ton. You can find it on the internet. I don't know it exactly, but we do it. Yeah.
And regarding the regulatory side of sustainability, and if we are building up competencies there on the regulatory side or the notified body side, I had a pretty interesting talk to a very, very experienced lawyer in the pharma sector. She was also a politician for quite a long period of time in federal level in Germany. And she said, I mean, all the regulations that came to medtech industry, they were all oriented at regulation that we had in pharma before. So MDR, manufacturing, that's all the regulation that we got in the last decades was derived from pharma regulation. And currently there's lawmaking in process that pharma needs to do a environmental assessment of new products for the certification of the products for the admission. So she is absolutely expecting that this will also come for the medtech industry and laboratory industry, so that you have, for regulated products, you will have to provide a environmental assessment of the product in order to get it to the market. So that's her expectation. And we will see that then, of course, in the regulated bodies, they will need to have the competencies to check the
I absolutely agree. This will come.
Applications. Yeah.
And this need to come, yeah?
Just a comment on that. I've not heard about the regulatory side of that. That's brilliant to hear. I'm really keen for that to come through. Hopefully the assumptions and there's more alignment in LCA. But I think just to go back to kind of the drive for regulation on this, at the end of the day, the climate crisis affects health. And what we're talking about is healthcare. And if our products aren't sustainable, that's going to drive the climate to be in a worse position, drive our health to be worse. So at the end of the day, then it's a vicious cycle. I know it's a bit of a blue sky thought, but they are going for the low hanging fruit. They're going for the aviation industry, which we saw. Can't remember, one of the presentations has a less impact than medical than healthcare. So I think the drivers for this need to really look at what is causing the climate crisis and what we can do about it.
Brilliant, thank you. And as you can see, we've let the panel run on a little long, and to be honest, I've still got more questions I could ask, so we'll send those through to you afterwards. But I have one last one. It's the same one that Pierre asked yesterday. What one thing would you suggest that people here take away as a learning from this event? You're too polite, Prem.
I think it was crystal clear during the presentations. one stakeholder, like we as a manufacturer, we cannot change the world. So we need supplier side, we need customer side, patient side to make sustainability as efficient as possible. This is not a standalone from a manufacturing point of view. So it needs to build a network being successful. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can only fully agree on this. I think it's very important to have the same understanding, to make the effort to explain it to everyone, and then it can only happen together if each part of the production chain is working together.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty much same as, because this is my first time to understand the whole sustainable chain. For example, yesterday a few presentations shows that what is the problem maybe in the manufacturer, or what is the problem for material suppliers. They want to supply the zero commission material, but there's a risk that maybe the manufacturer would not acquire it. Yeah, so I think it's really important for the community to spend more resource on this topic. And if we in the future can make it more economic for manufacturer or end users, then maybe they would have an incentive to do this in the future. Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
I would say education is quite a big takeaway from this. We've all shared our thoughts and experiences and what we've learned over the years. I've tried to take a different spin and talk about reuse and hopefully share knowledge to you. And I think that's the key takeaway is we need to go out there and keep sharing our message. Change only happens when we talk about it.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I'm sure everyone else would like to say thank you to all for coming up to the front and sharing your thoughts. It's been a really interesting panel. It could carry on. We could carry on for another 2 hours, but we won't. So everyone, thank you so much. Brilliant. So where do we stand now? Well, we're right at the end, and I'm sure you'll all be pleased to be able to go and grab another coffee and relax, and a bit more for lunch, which is, I think, as I said, at about 1:10. So I'll take you through quickly the questions that we raised through the day, just to give you what your thoughts were on them. So the first question we were asking, what is hindering your change to move to a more sustainable material? And unsurprisingly, cost and end-user acceptance were by far the biggest answers, followed slightly after by the regulatory concerns. I will share the detailed responses later, but I'm not that quick at making a PowerPoint presentation. So the second question was a simple yes, no, or maybe, saying, will medtech embrace sustainability without regulatory pressure? And 65% of you said no. So I think, as we've said in the discussions today, regulatory pressure is very key. No, there we go. I've talked that long. Good thing. That's a sign. You're not escaping. Back up. Ha-ha. So yeah, as I say, a majority of you believe that regulatory pressures are required to actually introduce sustainability widely into medtech. The next question was, what key steps are your companies taking to actually improve sustainability from your side? And we got a sort of really, really broad church of answers. The main ones were adopting bio-based or biodegradable materials and looking in at yourselves on energy consumption and just trying to be more efficient and really designing for reuse. And the last one was, what area of what area of change do you think is going to have the greatest impact? And again, if I had a pound for every time regulatory was said, the bar bill yesterday would have been covered. So regulatory, bio-based, and reducing polymer weight were all the key areas. So now we are at the end. I'd like to thank all of you for attending. I know it's it's always difficult to take 2 or 3 days out of your busy lives to come and join an event, but certainly the feedback I had yesterday from the group was really positive, both from the presentations and the panels, but also for the evenings. So it's with that I'd like to say a special thanks to my team, to Pierre, to Sandra, Marcus, Saeed, and Maggie, who've done an amazing job. If it wasn't for them, this event would have been an absolute, well, I'd be even grayer than I am now. As I say, Ultrapolymers truly believe that the discussions and the networking and the relationships that we've developed over the last couple of days are going to be huge value to our businesses as we evolve and go through the challenges associated with medtech, with development, and also with sustainability. So to help you with that, the slide decks will be available and shared with you in the next couple of weeks while we get them together. The videos we'll find out how long it takes to get the videos together. 2 weeks? 2 weeks? Oh, there we go. So everything's going to be in 2 weeks. So keep a look on your emails. And if you've got any photos that you wanted to share with the wider group, send them through, and we'll look to try and create a collage or a shared photo album. Who knows? And if you've got any questions, please reach out. But I would like to say it is now 1 o'clock. Lunch will be in 10 minutes. Thank you all. Thank you for coming. And thank you to everyone to innovate in healthcare together.